Do you know why politicians are like nappies? They both need to be changed regularly and for the same reason. Let the record show that I don't actually approve of political jokes. I've seen too many of them get elected. Now, many of us overestimate our grasp of politics, but if this is not you, you can Dunning-Kruger off and do one. If you're still here, you've passed the first test, well done. Let's start with the basics of the UK political system. There are three branches: the executive, which is the Prime Minister and his cabinet, the legislative, which includes the House of Commons and the House of Lords, and finally the judiciary, which incorporates all the courts of law. So let's focus on the executive branch today, which is currently led by Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, leader of the Conservative Party in Westminster. The Conservative Party is the executive because it is the largest party in the House of Commons. The House of Commons, along with the House of Lords, make up what is known as Parliament, and these chambers can be found in the Houses of Parliament in Westminster, London. This is where laws are made and why Parliament is known as the legislative branch of our political system, because the verb to legislate means to make laws. In the UK, the executive branch is also known as the government. The government or executive sits in Parliament. This means that we have what is known as a fusion of powers in the UK political system because there's no separation between the executive and the legislative branch like we see in the US political system, where the executive or the president does not sit in the legislative branch or what is known as Congress. Back to Rishi. He picks between 15 and 25 ministers or secretaries to become members of his cabinet. These people are responsible for specific aspects of governance, such as Ben Wallace, who is the current Secretary of State for Defence, which means he oversees policies on the UK's armed forces, intelligence and relations with NATO, among other things. Other ministers are in charge of things like health and education. In 2022, the Conservative Party had what can only be described as a revolving door of education secretaries, with 5 being appointed in just 1 year. 9 Conservative MPs have taken the job in the past 8 years. I remember when Halloween was the scariest night of the year. Now it's cabinet reshuffle night, and that's mainly for the MPs who might be given the perceived poison chalice of this ministry. It's not hard though, is it? Stop cutting funding for schools. Easy to find the money if you think about it. 50 million face masks purchased during the pandemic through a company specialising in currency trading and offshore property, part of a £252 million contract, were found to be unusable. Just imagine the children that would have benefited from that funding in education. More teachers, teaching assistants, resources, music lessons. I could go on. Most laws that are proposed in the Commons originate with the executive. These are known as bills. Only when they're scrutinised by both chambers of the legislative branch and given royal assent do they become acts of law. Because the executive is usually the largest party in the Commons, it is highly probable that its bills will become acts of law, especially when MPs are encouraged or metaphorically whipped into voting along party lines. Members of the Cabinet are expected to adhere to what is known as collective cabinet responsibility and vote in line with government policy or expect to be fired. So there you have it. You know the 3 branches of the UK political system and the difference between government and parliament. There is no bigger ick than not knowing this stuff. Challenge accepted. If you want me to explain anything political, let me know in the comments or messages. Thanks for watching.